this is the game I'm working on, Carvel. Well, not really. This is the first version of it. Well, not really either. This is the second to first version that I have in the git commit log. The first one didn't have these colors, so in this version I just fixed the shaders. Now it's like it halfway blends between the pure color and the texture. Not really the greatest, and I figure out something better later. Also, something that's really crappy about this early version is that the player or the camera moves at the default speed, which is really pretty slow, but that's the default speed that the uh, piston camera controllers come with. Um, yeah, so right now I have it. This is a 16 by 16 chunk of blocks that I can just use a command that says, oh, add a block. So I used a for loop to generate the platform and then make these four blocks with their individual colors. The rendering engine has a pretty neat thing I made on my own that uh, for each block it takes the texture and randomly rotates it and flips it. Uh, I don't end up keeping that for very long. It's not in the current version, I'm pretty sure. I might find something to do with this later. It doesn't look very good with this texture, so yeah, I'm not using it right now. If we look inside the platform, you can see it's like, oh, it's like an infinite hallway. Uh, the renderer only only brings up the faces that are actually visible from the outside. Again, look at that, and oh, there's a red light coming from in the ceiling. Ooh, except this is inside. That doesn't actually a real analogy. Yeah, this is the first version. It's pretty neat. So we move on to the second version, and immediately you'll see, oh wow, the platform is a lot bigger. And oh yeah, the camera's moving a bit faster. The platform's a lot bigger, and it's a gradient from red to blue to magenta. Well, the gradient was mostly because I was, testing it out. Anyway, yeah, there's multiple chunks now. You can't really see it yet. uh, but you gotta believe me when I tell you that there's multiple chunks. Oh, wow. And they're all being rendered at once. This took me forever. This took me 3 days. It was 3 days from that commit to this one. And also, boy, boy, I started doing player physics. Wow. You can just jump in midair too. And also crouching. Whoa, you move along the ground, you move a bit slower. Your head is lower. I'm going to make it so that you can crawl inside one block high spaces. You'll notice there's no wall collision yet. I still haven't worked this out. I haven't really done much with the player physics since this point. But yeah, jumping around, jump, and then it actually, if you jump, uh, you can get on top of here, and oh, I'm floating. But if I jump, it'll fall back down to the floor. Yeah, player physics. Wow. And chunks that you can't really see yet, but this was a bitch. It took me a whole day to do this. Wow. I had to do some clever math to figure all that out. At first, the rendering for it was a little glitched out. I just gotten a couple numbers wrong, but can really affect your game. Okay, so I know what you're gonna be thinking when you see this. You're gonna be saying, whoa, it's so much different. Yeah, well, the reason for that is that the commit that I made before this one, actually, it had some errors. It wouldn't compile. I was like, I don't want to have to fix that. I don't have to show every step of my process, you know? Uh, so yeah, the first thing you'll notice is that we're underground. Basically, I just, flipped a switch so that it would say all the chunks that are generated start out full rather than empty. It turned out to be quite a bit more complicated than that. It probably took a whole day, but whatever. The other thing is that, wow, it looks pretty. It's all lighting. Um, so yeah, there's two things. There's like a lighting generating code for each vertex. The first thing it does is it looks at what face it is. If it's the ground face, that's probably the lightest. The ceiling face is the darkest, and then the vertices that are more in the corners of the room, they also have a lower light level. It literally just looks at the 8 blocks around the vertex, and says how many are there, and bases the light value off that. And then the last thing you'll notice is that, whoa, the texture is so much prettier now. That's because when I was working on the shader to do the lighting, I also fixed it so that it had the texture effect that I wanted. And basically, it's just like I moved the math over from blending mode in GIMP that I really liked, and it looks really nice. Oh, and then there's one last thing you'll notice is that there's different colors. I'm using a noise function to randomly generate the red, green, and blue components of the colors of the blocks. And that's all neat and all, but that's not even all there is to show you yet. Oh, also I'm using no clip now. If we just look outside, whoa, it's so freaking bright blue. I didn't like the gray, okay? The gray is drab. Anyway, oh my god, I just freaking decimated this. Except I didn't, because decimated is like its own. Anyway, wow. So yeah, I also added a code that takes the camera's position and then like 10 blocks in front of it, and then I used a line drawing library to like draw a line between the 2 points, and it finds the block that's nearest to the camera along that line and destroys it when you click the mouse. So yeah, we have all this now. We can like move around in this, and it's all pretty. Wow, look at how bright blue this area is. It's like I'm digging in ice, like an ice cave. It's really neat. Um, yeah, that's not much more to it than just dig and dig. Oh yeah, I also, if you do right click, it places blocks, which the blocks aren't really look very nice now, and it's really fast, and it just fucking floods up into your face like, whoa, jeez, dude. That's not a very nice thing to do. That's kind of claustrophobic. Oh my gosh, the snakes. It doesn't even have a texture, and I'm not sure why. I really am not sure why these blocks don't have a texture. It's just white, but that's okay. The blocks you place are special anyway. Ah, the dark corners. Uh, okay, so while I was working on this, like, there's this whole like freaking fiasco, and I don't really know how to explain it, but once you reach the boundaries between chunks when you were digging, like some of the faces, like imagine like this was area's one chunk and then this area, and then some of these faces that are between the chunks just wouldn't render at all. So I had all the rendering code inside the chunk struct, and I just pulled it out and moved it into the world struct instead, and that pretty much fixed everything. So it would be able to tell the blocks between each chunk more normally. And I was trying to work around that for so long, and it just wasn't working. And then I realized, oh wait, this is a lot simpler than I needed it to be. The other thing is that it used to be 16 by 16 chunks, but when you like spam dig like this and there were a lot of blocks in the chunk, then because it was calculating all this lighting and stuff, it would actually take a while to render, and so the FPS would start to go down when you were just doing this to like, I mean, you can see it dip a bit, or yeah, right here. It goes down to like 40, but before it was going down to like 20. So I just shrunk the chunks size down to 4 by 4 blocks. And I mean, that creates a lot of chunks. So what I think I'm gonna do is make it so that the rendering size and like the chunk storage, like storing the data about the blocks, are gonna be in different structures, and they'll be completely independent, but like subsets of the whole world. If we take a look outside, wow, this looks so neat, don't you think? I love Minecraft, dude.